Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com and P.O. Combs Asian Art in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And today is, it's Wednesday, May 13th, 2020. And in this video, we're going to talk a bit about a sale that's coming up over in Belgium in a couple of weeks on May 26th and 7th. It's Rob Michiels is having another auction, and it's another good auction. And we like to cover them. We put the auction is already on the global pages, on Live Auctioneers page. We've put it over on the Invaluable page and so forth. But we're going to go through it, and we're going to take a look at it. And if you've never done business with Rob and you're a collector, you might want to. He's a real ceramics enthusiast. Those that you don't know, those that you know him know this. But he's an expert on Dutch Delft. He's very, very sharp on Chinese and Japanese porcelain. He's very sharp on Persian porcelain. He knows his stuff, and he's surrounded by people that know their stuff. And he's in a great part of Europe to get great consignments. So, and the other thing about their sales is they always seem to do a good job with photography. We had put the stuff on the global pages a few days ago. I heard from him yesterday, and he asked if we might do a video because we've done them before for him. We've said, sure, why not? It's fun. I like to look at the things he gets because he does such a good job of doing photographs. We've included them in some of our educational videos. That's how good the pictures are. All right. And on his website, if you go there, there's information how to contact him. There's his email address, his phone number. They do respond quickly to inquiries. You have plenty of time to get questions in if you start looking now. And, you know, so that you can get condition reports and maybe get some shipping information on an object that you might want to know about. Here's their address. They've got a map and all that business. But let's hop over here. Here is one of the sections they've got. They've got a bunch of Noyonis Straits or Peranican market porcelains, some very interesting pieces, in particular this big vase. This is a really lovely example. It is quite large. This thing is 91 centimeters tall, beautifully colored. It's 91 centimeters. Those of you who don't do, I'm not great on centimeter conversions, but it comes out to roughly 28 inches in height. This is a big vase. The shape looks like it might be a small one, but it actually isn't. It's quite large. And if you go over to it and you pull the thing in, you're going to get a real good look at the enameling on this. And the enameling on this looks very, very good. And I love the alternating colors that they did on the hooks on the shoulder. This nice deep egg yolk ground with Buddhist symbols, conch shell and wheel and all that business. The gilt-clad flaming pearl. The shading of these flowers is just great. And then all the little detail here in the dragon going down, and there's the foot on it. And this is a 19th century pot to my eye, clearly, and unusually high quality decoration for an Union Straits porcelain. And I think the estimate is way within reason, 4,000 to 8,000 euros. I think if you can get it in that range, you got a heck of a good buy. This, I think, is a very desirable piece of porcelain if you collect these. Very, very nice. If you've never bought one before, buy that one. That's, I think, a corker of a vase. And then over here you have this, one of these Chinese export Yongzheng Harlequin figures. He has a Kangxi to Yongzheng because there's a little tricky there, but this is a really beautiful example. And Harlequin figures are very collectible on all kinds of porcelain, whether they're Italian or French or Chinese export, certainly. And this is not a common pattern. This is a very rare type of plate. And if you collect Chinese export, think about the last time you saw one with the Harlequin figure on it. It was imported from Europe because it was a popular motif over there, and the Chinese made them on order. But quite nice. Estimate 1,500 to 2,500 euros. Seems very reasonable. And then onto this. This is a really unusual vase. It is Kangxi, from what I can tell. When I first saw it, I wasn't so certain because this red is just so red. But the enameling on it looks fine all the way down the body. The shading looks good. The color of the paste looks good. It's got script on it, the whole bit. Here's a picture of the top. The top is unglazed, and they seem to think it was made this way. I'm not so sure. It looks like it might have been polished down, but if you're interested in it, call Rob and ask them. They'll talk to you about it. But there's the foot rim. Very typical 18th century foot. I think this is a highly unusual type of vase. The decoration on it is extremely unusual, and I do think it's a Kangxi example. But I think it's one of those rare birds. It's just a very strange one, and I think the estimate is very reasonable, 2,500 to 5,000 euros. But highly unusual piece. Like I said at the beginning, you see the really great things over there. In the Netherlands and Belgium, Northern Europe, up around there, a lot of good stuff because of their history. And then over here to this is a Yongzheng marked, but it's a Republican period pair of square vases, very, very pretty. They look to be in excellent condition, and I trust Rob's dating on this. They feel that they're Republican with a Yongzheng mark. He does not believe it's a Yongzheng pair of vases, and the estimate's just 800 to 1,200 euros. And then on to this, a big folding, they dated as Republic, which I think may be a little bit conservative. Some of the porcelain on these panels look more Ching to me than Republic, but they feel it's probably Republic. But if it's Republic, I think it's early Republic. But the decoration, the enameling on these tiles in this beautiful folding screen, wooden screen with these porcelain plaques, is just very, very good all the way around. And the woodwork looks pretty good too. Often you get these porcelain screens, wooden screens with porcelain plaques in them, and half of them are broken or cracked. And this is a pretty good sized screen. So if you're a screen buyer or you want something like this, this is something to look at. Estimate 8,000 to 12,000 euros, which is in line, and it comes, of course, with 16 porcelain or a dozen rather porcelain plaques. No, 16 built into it. There you go. So do the math out in your head. If they're worth, $800, $700, $800 a piece, you're right in the range. Rob's estimates aren't crazy. He doesn't go wild on them. And then onto this, a nice looking pair of 36-inch tall Famille Rose vases with foo lions on the necks, and this sort of interesting warrior scene at the bottom. They're mirrored pairs. They mirror one another beautifully as opposed to identical pairs. So the faces are going off in different directions. This is a very, very pretty example. Here's a picture of they include, all of his pictures include pictures of the bases. You can get a whole education on foot rims from Rob's photos alone. Just go through them. And here's what the bottoms of these look like. Very typical. When they got into these great big vases, often they didn't bother glazing the bottoms. And you can see that the foot is kind of gritty and so forth, as these late Ching examples often are, but nicely done, and no gaps in the bottom. Often you'll see these sort of oddball gaps because when they fire them, the clay pulls apart and they end up with a firing gap in the bottom. Sometimes they just seal them from the inside and send them out. The estimate is 5,000 to 10,000 euros. But if you can get them in that range, that's a good price. But check the shipping on it because shipping is expensive. And those of you that have seen our videos before, these were in a sale he had last time. They sold, but apparently didn't get paid for. So that's life. He's offering them. He offered them before as circa 1900, but with chin lung marks, which is I think spot on. And these are big as well, with an estimate of 20,000 to 40,000 euros. And they're 66 centimeters tall, so they're about 25, 26 inches. Very attractive. And then onto this, the bat dish, the Guangzhou Marken period he feels on it. The picture's a little dark, but you can certainly see the enameling on it. I think maybe they forgot to turn the lights on for this picture. But the piece shows some nice light textures of orange peel. The clouds are very nicely, evenly shaded. If you really look at them, you can see that the handwork is good. The bats all vary from one to the other. Very, very nicely done. They don't look too mechanical to me. They look fine. Here's a picture of the back of it. Here they got the lights on. You get a better sense of the colors. There's the Guangzhou mark. And they feel it's of the period because, as you know, a lot of these Guangzhou plates, they continue to use the Guangzhou mark after. And he references to one that's sold in Hong Kong for 200, apparently about 200,000 Hong Kong dollars. This is estimated at 6 to 12,000, and it's big. This is 34 centimeters, which makes it a charger, which makes it quite desirable. It's very nice. And then on to this, Bhakti Chang moon flask. And you've all seen them before. They're a famous Qinlong type of moon flask. He's dating this one to be a later Qing example. I agree with him on it. I think a few people are going to think it's probably older, but it's a good example. It's a nice pot, very well done, and they didn't do a lot of these in the late Qing dynasty because they were sort of expensive to produce and so forth. But to my eye, the way that the heaping and piling is done here on the little darkened areas looks like later Qing to me. But he told me that some people think it might be authentic. Who knows? I don't think so. And here's a mark at the bottom. That looks to me to be a pretty typical late Qing dynasty Qinlong mark. It's got a few little boo-boos in it. And the foot rim and that paste and that texture seems to be late Qing to me as well. Estimate 15 to 25,000 euros, which is in range. Yeah, those of you that follow auctions, you remember Bonham's had a nearly identical pair of these that were market period a couple of years ago from the Skinner collection here in Massachusetts. I think they brought $3.8 million for the pair. So if you can buy one that's a very close kissing cousin for 2% of that, it's not a bad deal. It's not a bad deal at all. It's a very attractive pot, measures 48 centimeters in height. It's quite nice. And then over here, there's a set of Kangxi, if you're a Famille Rose collector. This is a nifty little set of cups and saucers you might want to look at. The estimate's reasonable. There are, as it shows here, there are 5 cups, 5 saucers, 10 pieces, estimated at 2 to 4,000 euros, which is in range, and they're Tongchi and they're marking period on top of it. They're not later examples because as you know, a lot of these pieces have they're a bit later, but they have Tongchi marks on them anyway. And this is a marking period set. And then over here, he's got some dandy bronzes. He always does. If you're a bonds buyer, you want to check his sales out because there are some very, very good, especially Ming and Qing bronzes that turn up in Northern Europe, Belgium, and estates up there because a lot of them were brought over during the prime trading periods and later in the 19th century when huge numbers of collectors lived in that part of the world and were in England and other places, but it got there. And here he's got this really nice, very interesting incense burner with these coiled dragons on each side. I think these are just terrific. I want to show this. Look at that. What a profile. Just beautiful, nice patina, nicely cast. It appears to be a beautiful, beautiful example, and it's good size, about 8 inches in diameter, and a very reasonable estimate, 1,500 to 2,500 euros. I think that is lovely. I think the patina on these, on this in particular, is just beautiful. All right. And then he's got this one. This is one of these lost wax cast Ming types, but with this mountain scene on the top of this covered archaic style bronze. There it is. And beautifully done with dragons climbing up over the mountains. I love the lid on this thing. It's got a great cover. Great cover. And the body is nice too. And you got there's nice areas of warm brown patina showing through, nicely cast, and very precisely cast legs. The casting quality of the legs on these is quite good. You can look at it from all sides. Nice looking piece. Nice looking piece. 2 to 4,000 euros, and it's good size. It's 44 centimeters tall. This is a pretty big pot, which makes it roughly 15 inches. And I think this is something, if you're a bronze buyer, this and the other one I just absolutely love. But this one is big, gutsy. It's an altar size, being of that size. So it's nearly 20 inches tall. It's a beast. And then over to this, he's got this Kapaladhara bronze, these multi-arm bronzes. He dates it 18th and 19th century, which seems perfectly reasonable. There are a lot of copies and fakes of these on the market, but they do turn up in Europe. And if you look at the picture carefully and you bring it in and you look at the surfaces and all of the little details with the stones and so forth, it looks okay to the dating that he's giving it. Does to my eye anyway. So I think it's a nice one. Estimate 4,000 to 8,000 euros. It is big. This is a big one again, 44 centimeters in height, 19 inches tall. This is a big display piece, elegant, and again, like I said, the estimate's reasonable. Very nice piece. And then over here, there's some nice, very nice silver in this sale. This and the next lot I'm going to show you are two that I think are spectacular. This is one by Lun Wo. He was a Shanghai silversmith. And you can look him up, actually, if you're into the silver and you want to check it out. Go over to the Adrian von Furst's silver book, which we just put in the reference section, and you can go through and you can find this maker in there. I believe somebody here looked and it was in there. All right, and here it is. This is a lovely, lovely silver teapot set with bamboo handles, nicely done. This is a good piece of silver, 2,500 to 5,000 euros, which seems well within range. And then onto these. These are beasts. These are huge pieces of silver, 54 centimeters tall. So they're about 20 inches tall each. Just absolutely great quality. And you take the time to come in and get a really good look at it, because the way all of the people, the horses, the way the clouds and fruit and all this is done is very, very typical of Hai Qing decoration, the style just of the 18th century. Beautifully done. Here's a shot of the sides. These wonderfully rendered relief work applied masks with ring handles on them. And this is silver. These are all, I believe these are close to sterling grade silver. But absolutely great. Estimate, they got a strong estimate, but they're big and they're very, very rare. If you can think of the last time you saw a pair of 18-inch tall Chinese export vases like this, good luck. They came from apparently the collection of a Portuguese ambassador who lived in China. 20 to 40,000 euros. They are marked. I don't think Rob looked it up, but the mark is fairly readable, and go look at it. And then on to this piece of silver. I think this is the last piece of silver, if you're not interested in silver. But you want to check this out. This thing is 68 inches tall, 68 centimeters tall, rather, not inches, good Lord. Well, let's see. Without the stand, yes, 68 centimeters tall without the stand, 74 with the stand. But this is an absolutely spectacular presentation piece. It has a triple gored body with flanking dragons that are coiled upside down, looking up at a boy riding an elephant on top. And the upper section is all reticulated, and then you have these beautiful immortal scenes at the bottom, and these lovely creature legs. They look like they're smiling with their teeth coming out, and I love the legs, and I love the way that they have the claws wrapping over those delicate little balls that is supporting this whole thing. This is one spectacular piece of silver. I don't know who's. Anybody calls Rob, ask him where all. I meant to ask him where all the silver came from. Really good silver. Again, 20 to 40,000. It weighs 3.8 kilograms, which is about 10 pounds of silver. This is a very heavy piece. These are big pieces of silver. Take a tape measure out and see how tall that is. Quite a thing. It looks like a yacht trophy from Tiffany's from the 1900. And then over to this very nice pair of 19th century late Ching Cloisonne vases, but very elegantly, very refined, very elegantly done with these roundels and character marks and dragons, nicely done, and not a crazy estimate, 1,500 to 25 euros, and these are big, 51 centimeters. Okay, so they're about so they're just around 20 inches tall, good size. And then over here, this was something I wanted to point out. If you're interested in designs, and we're going to have a couple of these in here, because these are in the sale, and these aren't Chinese, these are Delft. And those of you looking at the pair of plates on the left, I know if you saw them alone, you'd think automatically that they're Wan Li. They're not, they're Delft. And if you want to consider a really interesting collection, is buying the Chinese examples and then buying the mirror example that was made in Holland. I've seen these collections before. We had a Dutch lady who lived in the Boston area that had a huge Kangxi collection in one cabinet, and exact copies in Delft in the next cabinet. And they were all done approximately, around the same time for the most part. So it was a very interesting collection. And Rob has some very nice Delft in this sale that is clearly emulating export pieces of the early 17th century and so forth. All right, so you want to look at those. That's an interesting thing to collect, and here's more of it. I just threw this in. Here are a couple of Delft plates and chinoiserie, so forth on the left here. But this, again, another one of these clearly Wan Li. Here's another one, clearly a transitional type, and so forth. 400 to 800 euros. It's worth buying just to have it as a copy or as an example. They're not copies, but they're interpretations that were done in Holland. They're done, as you know, they're done in pottery and tin glazed. But it would be, I think it makes a smashing thing to have the Dutch copy and the Chinese copy beside one another for people who they come to your house and they're interesting. They're interesting. Something to look at. And also, he's got some Middle Eastern porcelain or pottery that also is based on or emulating Chinese examples that were exported there as tribute and trade starting in the Yuan dynasty right through the Qing dynasty. So he's got some of those. So this is a very interesting collector category. And then over to this. This is an absolutely beautiful Yongzheng dish. And you're looking at it saying, what an unusual color palette. And if you're saying that to yourself, you're right. It is a highly unusual color palette. You got this sort of purple ground and this star design and this very soft, that lovely light blue they used with these two beautiful women and their children waving at one another. She's coming in on a boat. Nice activity. It's a lovely day. And I just love this composition and the shape of the plate. I think it's a heck of a good package. If you're an 18th century export collector, find out about this. It's about 8 inches in diameter, 7 or 8 inches, and the estimate to me seems awfully low, 8 to 1,200 euros. Check it, get a condition report. But if this thing is in good shape or has had a mild restoration, and you collect China trade of this early period, boy, that is an unusual dish, I think. And then over here to this Yongzheng charger. I believe this was in the previous sale. And as again, he had a couple things that didn't get paid for. Sadly, this is one of them. This is a big plate, 55 centimeters in diameter. Has an old repair in the corner down here. There's a little repair. But if you missed it last time, chase this thing down. It's a heck of a big plate. It's big, 55 centimeters. Okay, so it's 20 inches in diameter. And then on to this. I love this. This is just pretty. Kangxi fish with leaping fish and beasts around the border and so forth. You've seen this fish often is rendered on the sides of Kangxi pieces in this manner, the carp leaping out of the waves and all that. And then surrounding it are fu lions and horses and so forth. Lots of activity. Love the horses. God. Look at him. He's yellow. He's sort of looking back at the fu lion who's pursuing it. And then in the border, you have crustaceans, shrimp, and here's some more fish, and here's a shell underwater with something coming out of it, and a crab and so forth. And there's another fish. Very interesting plate. Really liked it. Really liked that. And 2,000 to 4,000 euros, but very, very pretty and just a nice subject matter. Like that. I like that. And then on to here is a big Kangxi dish. Comes from a Dutch collection, 76 centimeters in height. So it's up around that puts it up around 28 inches tall. Nice quality decoration. Pull it in. Good looking enamels. Oh, pull it in. There it is. Nice looking light blue overglaze enamels mixed in with the bluish greens and so forth. The trees are nicely done. And what's nice about it is the decoration here is so well done. You overlook the fact that the gilding all looks to be in nice condition on top of it. I don't see a lot of wear to the gilding. And it's a classic, as you know, Kangxi form and big. Very big. 15 to 25,000 euros. Seems well within the range. Well within the range. And then another big Kangxi jar. This also is pretty big. This is over 2 feet tall, about 25 and a half, 26 inches. Kangxi covered pot. Nicely done. Good, again, overglazed blue decoration. Lots of different figural and landscape and people and, the longboat boat festival sort of scene and so forth. Nicely done all the way around. Love the greens on this are particularly vibrant, I think, too. And here's a shot of the inside, and there's a picture of the bottom and how it should look. And 64 centimeters, and it's estimated at, let me see here. Where the heck's the estimate on this? Am I missing it? Oh, at the bottom, 10 to 20,000 euros, which is right in line, I think, with those examples. No problem there. Okay, and then on to this. This is this is an interesting bottle vase. Actually, it's a copper red and underglazed copper red and underglazed blue bottle vase, but it's big. Most of these little bottle vases, you see them, and they're 8 or 9 inches tall. This one isn't. This thing is about 16 inches tall. A beautiful example, 41 centimeters. And notice how good the decoration is. The decoration on this is extremely fine and very nicely shaded. And as you all know, doing underglazed copper red and underglazed blue and having both of the colors on both sides come out well is a real trick. Because underglazed red is very sensitive and can get mucked up quickly. And here's another shot of it. Love the peaches. And I love how they did a red peach and then sort of a bluish peach. And up here they have a red peach and a light blue peach. I just think, and they did it again here, light blue, dark blue peach, and then just a red peach. But beautifully done, beautiful composition, good use of negative space, and this thing is inscribed. All right, that is sort of like over the top and inscribed on the neck. A really, really interesting piece of porcelain. There's a shot of it from above. There's a shot of the bottom. And I think the estimate is very much within range. 3,000 to 6,000 euros. Get a condition report in case we're missing something. But I don't know. I don't know why the estimate is so reasonable on that. That seems to be about $10,000 under what I would think it should be, just because it's got the inscription and such fine decoration. It's a very nice piece of porcelain. And then there's another one of these, a more standard, these relief vases, Kangxi period with the panels, nice quality decoration. Again, the shading is very good. As always with Kangxi, you want to see how, on the blue and white examples, you want to check and see how well done the shading is of the different color of the different shades of blue. And in here, it's got figures and landscapes and boats interspersed with precious object scenes. Nice looking vase, 3,000 to 6,000 euros. Sounds fine, reasonable estimate. And then over here to this Conky Phoenix Jar. What's interesting about this is that this is really based on a Ming type. The shape is very Ming, but it's Kangxi. And it just shows that they obviously carried forward shapes and forms to later. It's a foot tall, which is perfectly nice size, and it's got its lid. But the decoration on it is nicely done, and clearly Kangxi underglazed blue and all that, but on a Ming-style body, which is rather nice to see. It's an interesting lot. 2,000 to 4,000 euros is the estimate on that. It's 12 inches tall. Then the Yen vase, another big one, classic form, 46 centimeters in height, which is about what they all are. Beautifully done. This one is the deer pattern. It's a well-known pattern. This is not an unusual pattern. It's a very well-known one that's very accepted and collected. And here's this beautiful scene of the moon coming above with clouds wrapping around it and so forth. There's a side shot of it, and there's the mouth, and there's the bottom. Very typical. And 3,000 to 6,000 euros. Sounds fine to me. And then over here, another pair of yen vases. This one with the cracked ice pattern and blossoms, prunus and cracked ice. Nicely done. If you like a pair of vases, here they are, 4,000 to 8,000 euros, 46 centimeters tall. So they're roughly 18 inches in height. Nice size. And then over to this cup on stand. This is a stem bowl. Very nice, very interesting thing. I love the rounded body on these, and then it slips in to a sort of a narrower mouth. Most of the stem cups that you've seen, you show them, they come up and they flare out, and that's the end of it. This one is like a little bowl on top of a cup stand. They call it a stem bowl. At any rate, and it came from a collection in Singapore, some sort of entrepreneur's collection, 12 to 1,800 euros, about 6 inches tall. That's right in the range. And then onto this. This is a well-known pattern, but a very desirable pattern if you collect Kangxi, the fish pattern. I remember back in the early 80s, Khalil Risk in New York at the Chinese Porcelain Company had a bunch of these. And back then I couldn't afford to set them aside, buy one for myself. But I got the catalog and went through it and had a wonderful time. And this is another one of these, and I've remembered and liked them ever since. But this is a very attractive one with different species of fish swirling around a central crab scene. And the rim is molded and shaped and so forth, very much in the manner of how you often see Dutch Delft. There it is, the Chinese piece. 41 centimeters. This is a big one. 18 inches in diameter, 2,500 to 5,000 euros. If you can buy it for, if it hasn't have a lot of restoration, you can buy it for under 5,000 euros. I think that's a pretty good buy for a plate that size. It's a beast. It's a big one. And then you have one of these, a classic Kangxi. Like I said, there's a lot of Kangxi in here. If you're an 18th century porcelain buyer, this is Mecca. You have this nice cobalt blue, classical sort of a Kangxi incense burner. These were all fairly good size. This one is 24 centimeters in diameter, roughly 8 inches wide. Looks to be in good shape with a $2,000 to $4,000 estimate. And then over here, there's this Wan Li bowl. And again, it's got these mountain spikes on them. You often see them on Swatto chargers, that sort of thing. And it's got a wildly done barbed rim. This is the one thing that caught my eye about this. Sometimes they have shaped and barbed rims, but they're sort of rounded and smoothed down. This thing has points on it. I like that. There's another shot of it here with the banners, trees, nicely done. Lots of good color. Good color in the cobalt. Goes from a dark blue to a light blue to almost a sort of a heading slightly to turquoise blue. But there it is. You can see more of that here. This tone, nicely done. It is slightly warped because these late Ming bowls, Wan Li bowls, are often warped. It's not an unusual thing, especially with the bowls. But the decoration on this is nice. Whoever did this had a good eye. They took their time and they composed the scene well. And here's a picture of the interior. Here you can really see the sharpness of that barbed edge all the way around. Very interesting, very attractive, and it's a good size one. It's 8 inches in diameter with a 2,000 to 4,000 euro estimate. All right, and then you have this, and again, another Wan Li example of the herons or egrets in the center. It's a good size one. It's not a huge one, but the estimate isn't huge either. But nice, desirable type and well painted. And onto this, Rob always seems to have candies in his sales. I don't know where he gets them. Here's another one. They were popular in Europe. A lot of people collect them. One of these frog candies, 5,000 to 10,000, and that's pretty much the range for these. Sometimes they bring 15 or 16,000. This one has a couple of little nicks out of it, but the potting of the body is quite nice, and the painting of the frog is well done. So it should do pretty well. And this thing is good size. It's, how tall is that? 19 centimeters tall, so it's about 8 inches tall, 8 inches tall. It's a good size one. And then on to books. He's got some books in here. If you like books, check it out, because he's got things like this. And I talk about books in my videos, and I hope a lot of you buy them because they are crucial. And it's not just for the pictures, all right? It's for the reading. You get good information that sticks to your mind because you're reading the book and you're getting the content. And this is a highly desirable set of books that was written by Regina Crowell and John Ayres of the Topkapi Museum collection years ago. It was published back in 1986, and they only printed 1,500 of these sets. And this one is numbered 830. All right, this is a highly chased set. Some dealers charge $3,000-4,000 for a set of these. It's a very good set of books. Here it is. It is estimated at 800 to 1,200 euros, And this type of set of books only goes up in value over time. I know people don't like to talk about things investment standpoint all the time, but this is a very, very desirable set. And it was published by in London by Sotheby's years ago, so you know the quality of the paper is going to be that really nice glossy stock. Well worth it. And if you can buy these for $400 or $500 a volume, boy, I think it's well worth it. You want to look into it. And this set looks to be in beautiful shape. And he's got lots of images and so forth of what's in them. All right, now let's mosey over to this transitional period Chinese blue and white bottle vase. This is a nice one, and it's good size. This one's 36 centimeters in height, so it's about 14, 15 inches tall. And what's interesting about it is that the shape of the neck on this struck me as being unusual. Most of these bottle vases, the neck is more like a chimney pipe. It goes down a bit straighter, intersects with the body, and then swells out. This one, they really flared it out, coming down onto the body to align with it more, much more than usual. The scene of the figures down below here with the horses is beautifully done, and this sort of graduated scene of these fronds going up is unusual. It's an unusual combination of patterns on this, and the figures are very, very well drawn. Really, really are. Very classic example, and the estimate I think is very reasonable, 6,000 to 12,000 euros. We've had these over the years, and they always seem to sell, even to the trade for $8,000 to $10,000 a pop. All right, or even more, 14,000. But I think this is an unusual one because of its shape and its interesting decoration up above and this nice figural scenes at the bottom. Lots of figures, and that makes a big difference. And then this, again, a very nice transitional period Mutsai jar. The enamels look to be in wonderful condition. And again, there's that fish that we saw on the Kangxi plate. There it is, the leaping fish. But the cobalt decoration on it, underglaze blue, is very, very nice. The green enamels are nice and clear. The red is nice and clear. And there's not a lot of wear to the red. These red pieces often, we've talked about it before, they often get a lot of wear in the red enamels for some reason. They seem to be susceptible or was applied a bit too thinly. 2,000 to 4,000 euros, and it's just a 1 centimeter under being a foot tall. So it's a good sized pot. And then onto this, the Chinese Qianlong period, but it's Ming style charger. Nice example, 36.5 centimeters in diameter. Very, very classic Ming decoration on it. And you might want to check that one out. And it's big. It's a charger. As I said, it's 36 centimeters, so it's about 15 inches in diameter. And then over here, Kakiemon. There is some good Japanese stuff in here. This is one of them. This is a very attractive Kakiemon flat, sided dish. Nice looking light blue decoration in here. And you see here, you might miss it if you don't look. She's pulling the kid up out of the well, or it's out of a well, it looks like, and she's smiling, so forth. Apparently they're either that or it's a bathtub. I can't tell really. But at any rate, it's 3,000 to 6,000 euros, which is right for an early piece of Kakiemon, and about 8 inches in diameter. And then over here is this. This is very nice. This is a piece of Arita, and it's a lovely piece of Arita. It's got the mold relief work body with flowers, and then it's underglaze blue at top, underglaze blue in the bottom, and somebody added these lovely European mounts onto it. Just beautifully done, and it's about 8 inches, a little over 6 inches tall, with a $1,500 to $2,500 estimate. Done probably about 1690, late 17th century, which makes it, again, whenever you hear 17th century in Japanese, a reader always think earliest part of their porcelain making history, because that was their first 100 years, the 1600s, basically, of making porcelain. All right, it's a good auction, and we'll put the pictures up over on our page. We'll get them onto the blog, and check it out. I'll put a link down below for Rob's sale if you want to go and browse it. Get a hold of them with any questions. But it looks like a nice sale. It looks like a good auction for those of you. We're all stuck at home, so this is a good chance maybe to expand your collection a bit and have fun with it. If If you enjoy the videos, like, as they say, what is it they say? Like, share, and subscribe. So, you know, share it. Somebody asked me if they could put this on their website. It was a website out there. And I said, yeah, go ahead. Put the videos on there. It's fine with me. And so forth. We don't mind. And have a wonderful weekend. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And we'll be back on Friday with our regular weekly video. And stay well, everyone. All right. Bye-bye.